Intentional Communities section offers a simple but groundbreaking solution to many of the financial hardships and suffering that occurs within systems of exploitation. We have outlined and refined methods for enabling the access to the necessities of life that we as individuals are being aggressively priced out of through what we call crowdfunded, franchised, ideology free, decentralized, alternative grid intentional communities. I do want to make a correction here, and we always try to make our corrections concise and our verbiage and our dialogue concise in how we communicate this information, because franchised is the wrong word. It's a conglomerate. It's when a business operates in more than one location and often under the umbrella of a corporation. So it's not franchised, it's conglomerated. These intentional communities would be owned and operated by a parent corporation owned by the community members. For your consideration, Evolving Seeds honorably presents Gardens by Universal Strike Incorporated. And then there's a place where you can donate to this specific initiative. Your support and contributions will enable us to form a not-for-profit or a nonprofit or a for-profit, whichever one is the one that's correct and will fit and will get the job done, corporation known as Universal Strike Incorporated, which is why this was dedicated today, which is one of the people that I work with the General Strike US, which is a network of individuals who are forming a strike, a general strike against the many ways we engage with and are exploited by these systems, namely work, jobs and shit, and so Universal Strike is a derivative of General Strike US. This corporation will streamline and mainstream intentional community development to make purchasing land, wells, septic, and all fees, filings, and permits easier to navigate and afford. This will enable us to form communities with no central owners, which will allow members full control and mobility. And this is also to say it will help us break through that bureaucracy and red tape, just like the corporations do. When corporations see an area they want to develop, a Walmart or whatever it is, they just do it with no regard for anything. And we will have regard for everything. Universal Strike Incorporated presents Gardens. Gardens are small, ideology-free, intentional communities. These intentional or sustainable communities serve multiple functions, including immediately consolidating incoming resources and outgoing waste, providing adequate food and shelter to those who lack it, providing income and life skills to those who lack them, informing and educating guests about sustainability and intentional living, saving people money, replacing rest stops, and basically ending so-called homelessness. And to clarify a few things, when we say ideology free, what we are talking about is the same way you go to a Motel 6, a Hilton, any place that is a place where you stay temporarily. You can have whatever ideology you want. You can have whatever belief systems and faith, practice whatever faith you want when you go to these places. But what you believe in, your faith, your denomination, and your practices will not determine how the place operates or looks. When you go to a Hilton, they might celebrate your particular denomination celebration with you in appreciation and etc. But it won't determine how the doors, what kind of doors we use, what kind of door hinges we use, the parameters and diameters of the buildings, the circumference of the community center. It will not determine how how Universal Strike Incorporated operates, and our particular denominations and faith will not determine how the individual communities operate, etc. It doesn't mean you can't use your faith to make the decisions that you do in these communities. It's just to say it won't be forced. Your denomination, your faith, your beliefs cannot be forced on anybody else by way of the infrastructure of Universal Strike or these garden communities. Places of dwelling, or pods. Pods stand for place of dwelling. I don't know if anybody else has ever called them that, but that's what I call them, and I love that name, and I'm very proud if I am the first person to call places of dwelling pods, especially in theme with EvolvingSeeds.com, etc. The places of dwelling or pods in these communities would house community members who grow and maintain the communities in exchange for their room and board. These communities would also host travelers and patrons who would utilize all of our facilities at half of the cost of traditional travel lodging. So we're able to host outside people who are not members of this community conglomerate, we can host them and use their incoming funds to sustain the community and generate funds to circulate within the community. And we would also host RVs, etc. So pods, or places of dwelling. Gardens, pods. Each pod is designed to be at the height of extravagant while maintaining a sustainable balance with the community, the environment, and the individuals who dwell in them. One kind of pod available is designed to resemble traditional houses, scaled down to size. Another type of pod is a spherical cap dome shape. Each of the types of pods are designed to optimize efficiency with regard to energy use and distribution. Externally and structurally, each pod includes 2 windows, 1 door, 1 porch, 2 small chairs, or 2 chairs, 1 small table, 2 solar panels, 2 batteries, planters, rainwater collection, wind turbine where applicable, patio cover, etc. Internally, each pod includes a queen-size bed, 2 twin-size beds in the children's pods. I'll get to that. Personal item storage, a table and 2 chairs, 1 flat screen, 1 mini refrigerator, lighting source, crock pot, mini kitchen, etc. Generally, pods would house transitional residents and would therefore be of a standard design with only a small degree of customization, while people who live on site would be able to customize theirs pretty much how they want. And when we talk about children's pods, essentially you would pay 1 membership for 2 people and 2 memberships for 4 people. So a family of 4 would have 2 memberships and their pods would be adjoined. The kids would have their own whole pod and it would be adjoined to their parents' pod. And let's see, let's scale this back down. Crowdfunded, decentralized, conglomerated communities, example with no E. I'm seeing all kinds of typos I got to get in here. And this is a video of an intentional community, which is, just a for-profit regular housing, company that just, they charge like, I forgot how much she said, like $1,900 for these or something like that. And they're nice looking, and we can do this without that price on these. And I'll get to that. Sustainable life support systems, good food. And like it says, there's photos. If you click the photos of any of these photographs, there usually are videos associated with that specific aspect. Communing in these communities, members and non-member guests allows access to natural, automatically maintained hydroponically or aquaponically grown fresh fruits, vegetables, and herbs with the option for locally sourced fresh meat. We are well aware that this puts us in a precarious position. Evolving Seeds knows that the correct diet is one that does not include the property of another being, animals, namely their bodies, and there is no but here. We will say, however. However, we are also well aware that so many people are as dedicated to their current animal diet and, more importantly, their food systems as they are the other equally insane institutions. Our plan is to change the animal food dynamic and the hearts and minds of people by communing more intimately in these communities. By being in close proximity and by housing guests openly from all over the world, we can lead by example and slowly but surely reduce the amount of meat being consumed by community members, not with force, but with valid information and understanding and observation. By utilizing these ancient but state-of-the-art growing methods, we can grow more food more efficiently and begin to really explore what we can do with plant-based quote-unquote meats. This refers back to our goal to become the market. Currently, healthy plant-based vegan foods are purposefully and prohibitively expensive. We can use our surplus products and our stores to distribute the rest of our stock back to the current market to drive prices down among our competitors. So this is ways that doing this actually fights back against the encroachment of totalitarianism and this synthetic artificial bullshit they're always trying to give us. Clean energy. There are a myriad of options available to power our lives. These communities will harness state-of-the-art solar power and wind power generated from much smaller turbines, which are made from recycled materials. Each pod will have its own power source, or at least its own backup power source for further energy efficiency and security. Sufficiently powering our homes and the many devices we have adopted into our lives out of necessity or even convenience is becoming more difficult to afford and is continuing to cause unnecessary environmental stress. By empowering our own communities, we can share the cost so that we can ensure the spoils. Developing and nurturing our understanding of how to design, build, and maintain clean energy sources should be one of our first priorities as individuals and as a species. This will allow us the financial leverage to take the proper legal action to secure our right to natural communal living. There is no freedom without clean, free energy for all. Form and function, our business. This is the fun part as far as I'm concerned. Universal Strike Incorporated businesses exist to generate the capital necessary to fund the projects that benefits its members, assist environmental restoration by stimulating green economics, and centralizing resource production and distribution. We encourage overall public access and consumption of green goods, increasing the awareness of and demand for eco-friendly products, which will inevitably lead to more affordable and sustainable supplies of those products. So the whole business of Universal Strike is to form businesses, obtain property, obtain resources, obtain property assets that then are available to the community members who essentially power and facilitate the various businesses that Universal Strike owns. And in return, Universal Strike gives up 100% of its profits back to the community and the community members in a loop. And I'll get to that. Your business, Universal Strike Incorporated members and customers will help to reduce their carbon footprint, increase their own personal health and wealth, and vastly improve their personal and social quality of life. With the guidance of us, its members, Universal Strike Incorporated will focus on the relevant considerations and concerns of its members and the environment, meaning with the help of its members, Universal Strike will consider its members and the environment. Universal Strike Incorporated will analyze suppliers and affiliates with regard to their company's customer appreciation record, product packaging, resource procurement and distribution, and many other aspects of the way industry impacts ecosystems, communities, and individuals. The business. Universal Strike Incorporated businesses obtain and produce carbon low and or carbon neutral products and packaging that are completely or predominantly plant-based or zero waste, biodegradable, compostable, recyclable, and or reusable. Universal Strike Incorporated provides products and services that are ethical, environmentally and socially responsible, and economically equitable. The scientific method, logic, reason, empathy, Universal Strike Incorporated members, and the market, and maybe some AI, membership fees, company prices, practices, policies, etc. Member, shareholder, employee. Universal Strike Incorporated membership equates to the title shareholder, stockholder, and employee. Therefore, each member has the option to work at the Universal Strike Incorporated businesses that their membership fees make it possible to establish. Working at Universal Strike Incorporated companies enables members to earn the money to pay for their membership fee, obtain spending money for their personal use, and to save more money. Universal Strike Incorporated recognizes the monetary or money system is still the dominant form of currency in society. Therefore, Universal Strike Incorporated endeavors to transform the market by becoming the market. And I do want to say that if I'm not legally or grammatically correct about shareholder, stockholder, like if they're synonymous or not, you can't be both or anything like that, all of this, it needs to be tailored. We need some assistance. We need some volunteers to come in and help tailor this to how it facilitates legally. We have written up the articles of incorporation for Universal Strike Incorporated, and I copy and pasted BlackRock's articles of incorporation and then made them for sustainability and consent, the opposite of the diabolical bullshit they got going. But purchase power. Membership fees contribute to the purchase, development, maintenance of communal land, infrastructure, necessities, and luxuries, and all associated fees, filings, the development of Universal Strike Incorporated, ethical businesses such as restaurants, grocery stores, maintenance, services, temp services, etc., and all associated fees and filings, the purchase, development, maintenance of communal transportation and equipment, and all fees and filings, and much, much more. So pretty much everything we need, we buy and make available to ourselves like a library. Example, imagine if 90% of Walmart's profits went back to their employees and the communities that they were stationed in rather than the Waltons and the shareholders. Imagine if just a portion of the billions this company and companies like it make was allocated to environmental restoration, even just local to the store. So if you can imagine, and I said 90% just to be gracious, but imagine if Walmart had not had, but was established to give up 100% of its profits to the community that it was stationed in. You can imagine how this would make the United States in many ways and in many areas very rich. And not just, it would cascade. So it wouldn't just stop in the zip code of that Walmart. It would cascade based on relevant diametrics, if that's the word, demographics and quantum physics of how people utilize that store. Membership fee. The membership fee is determined by Universal Strike Incorporated members. Membership fees shall be based on relevant local cost of living data and what is equitable for the environment, the current members, the company, and even potential members. I don't know why I said environment necessarily, because we're just talking about the fee itself, and it really doesn't have anything to do with, at that level, with how Universal Strike is able to engage with environmental restoration. But I thought it should be in there just in case. So like I said, a lot of this needs to be tailored. The company and even potential members. Membership guarantees access to all community assets, features, amenities, options, necessities, resources, luxuries, and accommodations without restriction except for lack of availability. This does not include personal property or unavailable resources. Utilizing resources would be organized and operate much like checking out a resource at the library. Garden contributions. All positions within the Universal Strike Incorporated conglomeration are filled by Universal Strike Incorporated members. All members are required to follow all Universal Strike Incorporated business standards, policies, rules, and bylaws while actively filling the position, aka clocked in. The duration that each member works, fills, or satisfies each position is determined by the member. Members make their own schedules. Local Universal Strike Incorporated market necessities and the needs of our customers assist in us in improving scheduling efficiency. So we have apps that we all use at work, which organize how we operate. At these jobs, we use the same technology. Garden contributions, part 2. All members are required to pass an assessment exam to verify that they are able to complete the duties of the position. Members who are new to the position are required to attend workshops to teach them the relevant information and knowledge necessary to successfully complete their work. Schedules are determined Schedules are determined monthly and are verified and updated automatically via E-Verify to ensure work stability. Members are not required to leave the position unless they are found to have conducted themselves contrary to Universal Strike Incorporated business standards, policies, and/or bylaws. Member wages are determined by considering the highest minimum wage available in the country or province, wherever you're doing this, as the standard across all Universal Strike Incorporated businesses, regardless of location. This means that no matter what the minimum wages are from one place to another, Universal Strike Incorporated members receive the same amount and is a higher wage to most members than they would receive from another company in their area. Members' funds would be saved in their Universal Strike Incorporated account or a different name of that. Members are able to access their account and at any time automatically take their funds from the account in whole or in part, or transfer their funds to the account of their choice. Universal Strike Incorporated members are able to notify the system of any duration of vacation time and time off from work. Members are only required to fulfill their contractual and scheduled obligations. Community member perks. You get it. Universal Strike Incorporated membership also includes access to financial advisors, auto mechanics, legal advisors, general laborers, and much, much more. These professionals are compensated by Universal Strike Incorporated and are ideally also members. These membership perks are included in the Universal Strike Incorporated membership with no additional fees. Universal community income. Universal Strike Incorporated profits are divided evenly among Universal Strike Incorporated members as a universal community income. At that point, their membership fee will be deducted from their refund, not their personal income. Like, they're not giving us money that they're earning somewhere else and then giving it to us so that they can stay there. The money is coming out of the money that they're earning and generating while engaging, not just working, but engaging with these communities and general strike in general. And members will ultimately be paid to be a member. That's essentially what that's happening. Like, essentially, go back to the Walmart example. Imagine if Walmart had a whole community behind it that you lived in. Now, let's say this is just for the sake of argument. It's not like what we're talking about with these intentional communities. It's like Walmart saying, hey, you guys are late. You're not getting to work on time. Your commutes are out of line. Now, we know you got horrible commutes. We're going to make it easy for you. If you're an employee of Walmart, we got a whole ass apartment complex or a community right behind the motherfucker that you could stay in. And you live there for, half, whatever egregious shit that they would still be trying to do. We can do that very same concept, but we can control the cost of that community, the cost of those apartments. Those profits will include income gained from non-members as well as Universal Strike Incorporated members, which will empower and strengthen each individual revenue stream. Meaning, you're not just getting paid the hourly wage, the highest minimum wage hourly when you're engaging in any of the positions, whether you're washing the dishes, making the beds, whether you're welding something or teaching a class on mechanics or cooking in the community center in the kitchen. You're making the highest minimum wage in the country or wherever your province is. And simultaneously, when you are cooking for guests or community members or guests, the guests' fees and the cost of them live and engaging with the community and not being members, we get that as income. And when those profits are returned, they are returned back. So you're getting a wage and a refund, an income. So you have two income streams just by being a member. And that's not even to talk about stocks and trading options and other kinds of things that we can get into, and developing our own currency and all kinds of other things that can be transferred or relative and relevant to the market as it is. But you can see we don't have to beg anybody for a universal basic income. We can create a universal community income and give it to ourselves. So this is a directory, just as a break, a directory which shows other intentional communities and other community and intentional community projects. It's getting late. And so we wanted to feature that and feature those doing the great work in this specific aspect, developing intentional communities. Garden contributions, on-site gardeners. On-site labor contributors, on-site members receive room, board, and a universal community income to live in and help maintain the community. On-site members are a great resource in and of themselves. Much of their contributions will involve housekeeping, the pods, preparing and serving food, assisting with special needs guests and residents, etc., or work in the associated Universal Strike Incorporated stores, cafes, etc. Living in the community also allows on-site members to facilitate programs that help raise awareness and perpetuate and demonstrate more sustainable intentional living by offering do-it-yourself online classes and hands-on experience with emerging sustainable concepts. Visiting members, as well as the general public, will gain access to a practical and more intentional lifestyle while reducing the amount of time individuals need to contribute to keep it all going. Podshare or PS gardeners are members who contribute monetarily, money from wherever they may live, and use the community as a getaway or vacation home anytime they choose. This will enable Podshare members to have the freedom and luxury of owning a Podshare without the high-end cost or dramatic limitations of the resort-style timeshares people are accustomed to, but with all of the service and amenities. P.S. Members may or may not work in the associated Universal Strike Incorporated businesses. This is determined by each Podshare member individually, meaning you can work somewhere else you can work somewhere else and live somewhere else, and you can use these garden communities as your cabin in the woods and go there when you want to and still be paying a fraction of the cost. And essentially, a lot of this is the concept of a timeshare and how timeshares operated, but with the timeshare company that's all predatory being not predatory, not exploitative, and actually owned by the members of this place and centered around equity and environmental restoration, etc. And also keeping the fees and everything to a minimum. Gardener contributions, vendor gardener. This was a way I wanted to be able to get people who can't afford to get there, can't even afford to get to the community, to be able to come to the community, to be able to afford to come in the community. Vendor gardeners contribute by signing up new Podshare members. Hello? Yes, this is Universal Strike Incorporated. We're a property management and development service company, and this is what we do, blah, blah, blah. And now somebody else understands and they sign up as a member. Here we go. If a current or prospective member is unable to contribute monetarily or with labor, they can solicit new timeshare members, which I mean podshare members, to financially support the community. The time that was spent to secure the new members and their financial contribution covers the monetary contribution of the timeshare member or the vendor gardener, who signed up the new member. So I have access to a phone, and I got internet service on it, and I can talk to people. And I'm somewhere I don't want to be. I want to go to one of these communities, and I don't have any family to give me any money. I can actually sell these memberships to other people, and that time and energy and effort, regardless if I actually sign anybody up, is quantifiable, quantified, and compensated. And so they can get their ticket here. And if they blow that money on whatever and don't make it to the community, they earn that money still. And we will have ways of quantifying how much time and energy they put into getting members. And if they did get members, maybe they secured 8, 10, 20 members, and we can compensate them for that, maybe with some kind of commission. And that would be under the website. So they sign in, they go into the website, Universal Strike, and they sign up as a vendor. And that gives them the data that they need and the links and stuff to advertise and promote it. And it also, when they log in through there, and they make phone calls through there, and they send emails through there, and that logs their work, and then that work is compensated. They don't have to even be a member at that point. They're a vendor gardener. So they're formulating a place or forming the ability to come to one of the communities. Once they're already members. They already have a track record of, they know what's going on. They sold it, they sell it. That might be what they do while they're in the community, instead of washing dishes or making beds or cooking or doing mechanic work. The community center, this is where it gets really fun for me. The community center is at the heart of any sustainable or intentional community. Community is an idea before it is a location. That idea is that as social creatures pursuing happiness, a common ground and space is necessary to connect and communicate. The community center serves as a university clubhouse, recreation center, kitchen, restaurant, meeting hall, gym, theater, laundry facility, hygiene facility, storage, etc. And there will be more storage and like different locations, but the community, and it would be relevant to what that area is. Like if it's near a nice garden or a nice aquaponics area, we would have storage that is relevant to those supplies. The community is designed to house the community center in the direct center of the property so that everyone and everything is relatively equidistant from the community center. Easy access to tools, supplies, and equipment, etc., is essential to sharing and utilizing things. The community center is where members gather to finalize community decisions, hold meetings, recognize members for achievements, celebrate, etc., etc., etc. The community center is where all shared luxuries and many necessities are stored. Estimate one industrial stove, like for one, like a hotel restaurant or a Las Vegas restaurant type of kitchen equipment. Sustainable equivalent, one walk-in freezer, or sustainable equivalent, one refrigerator, 2 microwaves, or not on the microwaves. And on the refrigerators, we're talking about the freezer, the whole full restaurant, professional restaurant get up. Coffee maker, broiler, I guess it's kind of irrelevant for me to even read that whole thing. The professional restaurant get up, scaled to relevant, population demands. And then, of course, we would have in the community center, we would have flat screens, 3 large monitors or more, 1 Xbox, 1 PlayStation, 1 Nintendo, not to be plugging these companies, but here we go. Wii U, video projector, 4 desktops, maybe more than 1 video projector, 3 large sofas, several, and this is all tailored to each community. So reading this is just, you can go ahead and read that. Community center, it has all of these, it should have all of these features where you are in your community center. Community transportation. Communities will obtain several automobiles to aid communities in carrying out tasks and connecting the various communities with free transportation, which is quote unquote not free, but it's not. It is included in their membership and everything else. It's included in their membership and access to everything else. Free transportation, community funded. This will enable us to provide a public service to anyone headed our way. Ideally, we would want multi-purpose automobiles like trucks to maximize efficiency, but also maximize carrying capacity while still considering the economic and environmental impact. So us being able to carpool and do this, we would be able to pick up people who are not members, but now they're looking at they are able to be picked up, or they go to a certain stop that is relevant, or a community stop, or one of the businesses, and that stop is a universal strike stop, bus stop, or shuttle stop, and now they're looking like it's what? It's $1 to go this way. It's $1 to go here, and they're looking at you like you didn't even pay $1. How come you don't have to pay? Oh, I'm a member. It's free. Well, how much does membership cost? $15 a month. Or if we're talking about pods, places of dwelling, $140 a month for a pod, for one pod, $280 for two pods. So if you're a family of four, etc. So one truck per community, and this is obviously needs to be updated, but not just one truck per community, but many trailers, etc. 2 golf carts or off-road ATVs for community tours and maintenance. The car would be used for local endeavors and conducting normal business to and from town. The truck will be used to haul things, move things, etc., according to their application or community. Also, communities can facilitate a community-to-community transit system that enables members to move about their communities with more freedom and less burden at no extra cost than their original contribution or membership. They can leave their car at home or park it at the community and carpool around the country or carpool around town. This is where we really begin to use communities as they were meant to be used, as interchangeable vacation getaways, nomadic therapy, and sustainable living. For the community-to-community transit system, several 18-passenger vans or shuttle buses would be ideal, possibly 4, always on the same route, always in rotation. The bus drivers of those buses, they get, or those shuttles, or those transports, they get that same wage, highest minimum wage in the entire country. And we can tailor that. If we start to generate so much profit from the people who are utilizing it outside, and or our membership fees can generate all this and sustain all this, then eventually that universal community income goes up and those wages go up. We can increase them and save. We don't even care what the minimum wage is somewhere. For the community transit, I said that part, possibly 4, always on the same route, always in rotation. Operating the automobile is a form of contribution. Aiding the automobile operator and the passengers is a form of contribution. Ideally, organic community foods could be provided for the trip to exchange among communities, as well as any other resources applicable. Presently, all automobile operators must have a valid driver's license to operate automobiles outside of the community. Inside of the community, pretty much anybody can use things. Innovation. One of the most innovative and groundbreaking features is the ability members have to transition from being a pod share or PS member to an on-site or OS member, and from an on-site member to a PS member with only some form of notification and consideration, because the fee is the same. Consideration is based solely on sustainability and available space. The pod share member can use the pod that they have been staying in, or if they have made this decision from where they live, like their own home, having vacation to a community, they can request a more permanent pod. And this is subjective. You don't have to do this, but as a new member, their first job, where interested, is to help build their own pod or place of dwelling, or build a replacement pod to replace the pod that they were occupying, and everything that comes with it. This will help facilitate the integration of more sustainable values in the people who dwell in the community, as they eagerly participate in the manifestation of their place of dwelling. An equilibrium has to be maintained. Therefore, the ability to transition should be predominantly based on resource availability. Ideally, the community would always be slightly under capacity, with a rise and fall in pod share members, predominantly on a seasonal basis. This turnover will largely depend on the popularity of the locations of the communities and their many geographic benefits or features from the community's environment. In other words, the nicer the getaway, the less people will want to leave, and the more people will want to come and stay there permanently. The turnover rate for on-site members should be slightly under capacity, with a continuous but slow flux of 1 or 2 vacant on-site pods, because they're more customizable, which means when somebody moves, it has to be, set back to default. The pods dedicated to on-site members housing should be around 30% of the total community space. This is all estimates. The pods dedicated to pod share members should be around 30% of the total community space. The other 20% should be dedicated to education, recreation, food production, etc. In theory, did I say right there? Did I only do 80% of this? Well, that's what I'm saying. The other 20%, that last 20% is miscellaneous gardens, etc., aquaponics facilities, etc. The infrastructure. So I have to update this. In theory, we will not have to turn anyone away, especially if we build very temporary pods that house non-member guests on bunk beds, possibly 6 beds to a pod, in a design that is progressive and properly utilizes space, possibly not stacking the bunks, but instead strategically placing them. This means housing more people in relatively the same amount of space, especially for emergency purposes and disaster relief. So we have the facilities to actually facilitate care, community care, even extended past members. And like, I know anybody still listening to this understands where I'm going with this. Workshops, tricks of the trade. Sustainable communities will provide resources, experience, and information on a wide variety of trades and necessary mechanical and technical functions that are common and or vital to the current human condition. These areas of education are the real professions of an efficient society and will enable each individual to enrich the community by enriching themselves. Community members will even be able to exploit their knowledge in the quote outside world and be ahead of the class or their peers in the classroom or workplace. Essentially, this will make sustainable community members a hot commodity to the commercial industry sector. Because remember, you can live in these communities, but work in a multi-million-dollar corporation, or you can work wherever you want. You have the option to work in the communities, or you have the option not to work in the communities and work wherever you want. And in many cases, I'm gonna leave that alone. A few examples: all relevant forms of law, auto, mechanics, and engineering, carpentry, construction, irrigation, aquaponics, sustainable energy, associated elementary, middle school, high school, and college courses, ancient mystery traditions, modern medicine, animal care, and literally every kind of relevant workshop will be available, civics, etc. Facilitation. The workshops will be organized by the person or people with the most experience, affinity, knowledge, education, and most importantly, the passion to engage with the material, not so much as a teacher of it, but as a guide through it. As part of their community contributions, these workshop teacher guides will formulate a relatable and reviewable lesson plan to be used by neophytes or novices or beginners to learn each trade or subject in an ongoing effort to champion the material. People solving problems. Workshops will utilize the wisdom and experience of the teacher guides, free online courses, and public community groups to assimilate the necessary information. Community members can choose to work for local businesses through extended or contracted community labor. This will give community members the opportunity to further their understanding of the material while making some money for themselves. The purpose of the workshops is to offer useful skills to the community members and, if possible, the general public to enrich the quality and quantity and efficiency of the work that continually needs to be done to sustain life and society. The primary goal of workshops is to encourage more independence in individuals. Always in session. The workshops, like anything else relevant to these communities, will be posted in the community centers, in a bulletin board, online, and in the associated app. Anyone interested will be able to see exactly what workshops are being conducted, when, who is the teacher guide, who else has committed to participating, and what material will be covered. This will automatically organize the workshops and limit misunderstandings and people who might unintentionally cause disruptions due to lack of interest, showing up somewhere that they really didn't have no business being. Workshops are the means by which human beings will learn the higher order of inner purpose in association with their environment and needs and society. And this needs a period. Protocols and proximity, community principles. Somebody said that if you really look at this, this background of all these signs, that it really does portray and show you just how manipulated and influenced our minds are all the time, everywhere we go. Like, that's what the average highway looks like. That's what the average community and road looks like when you take all the signs in that area and put them in one spot. Garden communities will be founded on the non-aggression principle. Garden communities will use the scientific method, the trivium, the quadrivium, logic, reason, and every other relevant method of truth discovery to determine and navigate community decisions. And this is also just examples or estimates or guesses of how we can establish this and outline the parameters. Garden communities will apply empathy to all incoming and outgoing information to achieve equity and harmony. And we're talking about values and inputting and outputting data. These are implied by the pursuit of good civil and business practices more than a subjective imposition of ideology. We're not telling people we want to do good and do good business just for the sake of saying some shit. There's a purpose behind it. The bylaws. No Universal Strike Incorporated member or Universal Strike Incorporated board member can propose initiatives to change or amend these bylaws. No member can propose initiatives that can be reasonably presumed to violate a natural breath of life person, their natural inalienable rights, or their property, or the natural law. No member can propose initiatives that can be reasonably presumed to discriminate or lead to discrimination against a peaceful individual. No member can propose or where to go? No member can propose reasonably. Okay, so yeah, that's a lot. We're not going to go through that right now, but these are the bylaws. Just some of the bylaws I think would be important. Talking about discrimination, differential advantage, not giving up our values, or you know, substituting more harmful or less eco-friendly or less ethically sourced materials so that we can save a buck. Like it has those types of bylaws and organizations in it. Proximity voting and infrastructure. So this is one of the things I like because this is something I came up with, and I'm not for voting. Is if you follow this, then you know that I'm not for voting, especially voting for representatives. But when we're talking about strictly votes, talking about infrastructure, I'm all about voting. And not mob rule it with enforcements of or restriction of our freedoms and our freedom, but rather having a say in a society about how the infrastructure will go. So this is largely about what color the library will look like, or what color the community center will be, or so on and so forth. And maybe it'll get even really technical where Universal Strike wants to invest in a technology or a startup company that's a tech company with some really crazy technology or excuse me, some really wild technology that is really state of the art. And some people don't even think that it's legitimate. It's so advanced. And Universal Strike wants to be at the forefront because we recognize the company, the people producing it, the technology and its benefits and its potential, and want to uplift it, and we want to invest in it. Those are the types of things we would be able to vote. So, for example, the example for proximity voting systems, all members have one vote in the company affairs and one vote in the physical community that they live in from day one. If they're an on-site member, or if they're an on-site member, if they're a pod share member, meaning they live outside of a community, they still get the one vote for the community, or excuse me, for the overall corporation, for Universal Strike. And I think they would still get a community vote for the community nearest them, or the communities they signed up with intentions for, visiting. So again, this is all needs to be refined and, redacted, if that's the right word. So I'll read that again. Proximity voting systems, all members have one vote in the company affairs and one vote in their physical community from day one as a member. The following system is for infrastructure and operations between and for intercommunity decision making. Similarly to contributions not determining access, this voting system will not determine access. And we will never be voting on each other's natural, inalienable rights, freedoms, etc. Board member proximity does not have to be an on-site member to any specific community, but has to be a member of the communities. He doesn't have to be, or they don't have to be a member of a specific location. They get 50% of one vote for community votes and corporate votes. Proximity A, on-site long-term member. This is somebody who lives in their community and dwells in their community, has a lot of pride in their community, and is developing their community. They have at least 6 months on site to be an on-site long-term Proximity A community member with 3 years commitment. And so they get 100% of one vote with 0% change rate, meaning I don't recommend that we change. When I say a 0% change rate or some percent change rate, saying that it could and should be changed in some way. I'm actually saying that this shouldn't be changed. This is the average person who would be a member of these communities. They get 100% of one vote. They get 100% of one vote for community affairs and 100% of one vote for corporate affairs. And Proximity B plans to be on site for long-term dwelling within the next 18 months. They're already a member. Maybe they're somewhere else. Maybe they're a pod share member and they're somewhere else. Maybe they are really moving through these communities and they haven't settled on one. But once they've settled, they will get a vote on that community after 18 months, probably we could see all needs to be tailored to communal necessity. But for at least 3 years commitment, talking about being up a plan, proximity A. And again, this doesn't determine access or restrict access. And then proximity B is transition to proximity A 90 days after arrival date. So that's, again, needs to be tailored. 35% of one vote. So proximity B wants the library to be red, and somebody who is already in that community wants the library to be orange. They get 100% of one vote. Proximity B gets 35% of one vote. So it takes 3 votes, 3-point-something votes by 3 proximity B people to make one proximity A vote thing. This is to weed out trolling, so that it takes, I got to get, if I'm a troll and I want to hate on communities, because people always bring up these, I understand that they are probable whack jobs that will try to ruin everything, and they're greedy and they just want to troll. Proximity B, and this is also for the higher level structures, so that there's a certain level of influence and access and ability without restricting people or exploiting people, etc. But it would take 3 proximity B votes to make one proximity A vote on something about the specific community that proximity A people live in full time. Proximity B people live somewhere else, or they're floating, or they're in this community and plan to move to that community. So their vote, if they want to troll, they need to go get 3 other trolls just to equal 1 of one of these other people. And if there's 2 people voting, they need 6 of it, so on and so forth. And that's just to break even. So it's a way to restrict how outside influences can influence the evolution of communities on an individual scale, while still giving everybody a say. This still needs to be tailored, like I said. And 15% change rate, more or less. You can add or take away 15% of that 35%, and it still should function really good. Proximity C, plans to be on site, off and on temporarily. They have no desire to be in one specific community, but they want to have a say in this community, that community, because they go there sometimes and maybe have plans to go there. They are able to have a 15% vote. So if they want to troll, they need, 6 people, 7 people to equal 1 person to make decisions about things that affect a community that they only go sometimes, or that proximity A people are in all the time. This is how people, it takes more quantity of people to vote on these topics to influence it the same as 1 person who is on site. D, no plans to ever visit the particular community. They get a 3% vote. So even people, and there's a 10% change rate with that. So even people who don't, I live over here, or I live at my own house. I don't live in a community, or I do live in a community, but I want to have a say in that community over there. I want to troll that community over there. I only get 3% of 1 vote, meaning I need 30, 20, 20. I need I don't even know the math on that anymore. I need, what's 3 times 7? 25? No, 35? I need 35 people. I need 35 people plus to make 1 vote for something that affects that community over there that I don't live in. Proximity E, contributing member, no intention to visit any community, however, has earned a vote. So someone who has a membership, or a vendor member who is selling membership, but doesn't live anywhere yet, they have a 10% of 1 vote. So they have 10% of a vote with the corporation, the community, the specific physical community, and its infrastructure and organization, etc. Proximity C and D can transition directly to proximity A by formal request 6 months after their arrival date. So if they've been there 6 months, or longer, or whatever the case is going, or they've been a member that long, they can transition right then to their community as a permanent member. Example for garden communities corporation initiatives: board member proximity, 50% of 1 vote per board member. So even in a community, a specific community, the board members get 50% of one vote. So the board members have to come together and, like, let's say there's 10 board members, all 10 have to come together to equal, 2 votes of 2 or 5 votes in something that's a community initiative. Committee proximity. If there's a committee about something to organize the development of something or perpetuate an initiative, they get 25% of one vote per community member. So they have to get 4 of them to equal one vote. They have to get 4 committee members to be sure of what they're talking about, to even come to the larger board members with their things, to then have votes, which are then presented to us, the member. And what we vote for is they only have these specific percentages ability to fight our one vote. The board members get 50% of a vote. The committee members who are formulating these initiatives get 25% of a vote. And the general member proximity is day one as a member is 10% per one vote. So the day I pay my membership, whether I step foot on a community or not, I have 10% of one vote in anything that goes on in any community and in a corporation. Think about that. It's not nothing. It's relevant to how much I've even participated, how much I've done, where I've gone, where I want to go. Board member requirements: 10 years active membership in good standing, 6 years minimum on-site organizer, 10 years minimum performing documented solutions-focused activism, no natural law violations within 18 years. These requirements are able to be amended per the will of the community members, but there shall be protocols put into place to, quote, limit that amending. Intentional communities, 50% less hippie than you'd expect. It's a video that outlines an intentional community, and one of the things that was more relevant was actual agreements, which we talked about in the video before, and having lawyers, which all of that should be funded and would be funded by the overarching Universal Strike Incorporated corporation itself. And again, so much of this is up for amending that I haven't settled on Universal Strike Incorporated or Universal Strike International, because we do want this to be something that can be done and should be done internationally. And we want to be able to live all over the place. So we want to have these gardens all over the place so we can sustain ourselves, meaning you can go on vacation and still go to work if you wanted to. If you wanted to. But this has been Universal Strike Incorporated, the plans. This has been EvolvingSeeds.com. And we thank you for your consideration. Please, if you found this video informative, I hope it didn't take too long. And I might break down each section so that I can dive deeper into each aspect. But I hope that you can imagine what the outline, the goal, how much access and facilitation, and how doable this all is. So please be safe out there, and thank you once again for your consideration.